The body was empty. Empty of meaning, and we've wanted to confirm that, so that we could fill it with meaning.
The world is a much more dangerous place now that pain has all but disappeared.
Surgery is sex, isn't it?
David Cronenberg's latest film, Crimes of the Future, is his first foray into body horror since his 1999 film, Existence. He paints a pretty bleak future in which people are now adapting to evolution by growing mysterious organs. The film received a 6-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival. It stars Viggo Mortensen, Léa Seydoux, Kristen Stewart, and also Scott Speedman. And Scott Speedman joins us live now today on CP24 Breakfast. Scott, it is great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Sure.
Toronto is pretty much your old stomping grounds. You grew up here when you were a kid, so how does it feel to be back in the city?
Oh, it's good. I haven't been here for 3 years since the pandemic started, so I finished at Cannes a little late, and so I got here on Wednesday, and it was really good because I haven't seen my best friend and my mom for a long time. So
nice.
Yeah.
So your mom's still here?
My mom's up in Collingwood.
Okay.
So yeah. My best friend lives in Little Italy, so we got to hang out a little bit. It was nice.
That's so special.
Yeah,
okay.
great.
All right, Scott, let's talk about this film.
Okay.
Cronenberg is, again, revisiting body horror.
Sure.
It's very fleshy.
It is.
It's pretty gory. Not exactly a morning breakfast show movie to talk about, because he paints a future that looks, grim, desolate, very rusty. And as I mentioned, human bodies are evolving to keep up with the destruction they've created, and that includes feeling no pain and growing these new mystery organs in their body. What attracted you to want to make this film?
I mean, at this point in my career, it's really working with the director. I woke up, this never happens, but I woke up to an email one morning from David and Robert Lantos to ask me to be a part of this. So I assumed it wasn't, it was going to be whatever kind of role, but when I read the script, I was blown away with not just the script, but with my role in it. So, obviously, in terms of like a short list of Canadian directors I want to work with, he's at the top of it. So I was super excited, and especially to do like one of his old body horror type movies was amazing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds definitely like an actor's bucket list.
It is.
With Cronenberg.
Cronenberg, especially like this.
And you play this activist or anarchist, Lang Daughtry, in the film. And at first when I saw you in the film, I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
He looks kind of grungy. Yes.
Very
grungy.
grungy.
Almost like a villain. You're eating these mysterious protein bars wrapped in silver. You're kind of lurking around. And I know that in the film, it opens with a really powerful, disturbing scene that involves a child, and that child is yours in the movie.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to know, because you are a new father, you had your baby girl Pfeiffer last November. Did the experience of being a father now change how you approach this role?
It was really interesting because my girlfriend was in her 3rd trimester while we were shooting, so we actually hadn't had my daughter yet. So it was an interesting thing to think about it through that way. Yeah, she couldn't come because of all the COVID restrictions, but yeah, it was really interesting to think about how I would play this role even in a year from now.
Right.
Because I know so much even today, more than I did then, about playing a scene like that or a story like that where you lose a child. So it was a lot of imagination. My best friend has kids, and dealing with him and talking to him about it. But so I had to sort of go to the imagination more than anything on that one.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking what they do with that child.
It is.
In the movie. We won't spoil it.
Don't spoil it, but it is pretty out there.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. Let's talk about the visuals in this film.
Yeah.
There's a cocoon-like bed with fleshy tentacles that attaches to
I
Saul
love the descriptions of this movie. It's so good. I'm like, wow. I haven't heard it said like this yet. This is great.
A skeletal high chair, kind of like the Stokey high chair, but for an adult.
For an adult,
that rocks and shakes people to help them eat. And then that operating bed called the SARC.
SARC unit,
where all the kind of performances on these organ removals happen to Saul Tenser, which is Viggo Mortensen's body. So talk about just the visual spectacle of this film.
Well, of course, when I'm doing it, none of that is there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just this unit where he's in, but none of that stuff is happening.
Yeah.
So you're just like pretending the whole time, and you're like, really, I hope this works because I'm making all sorts of faces here. If it doesn't add up, I'm going to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you just sort of jump. You kind of walk off the ledge and hope for the best on that one. But yeah, I mean, when you see the end product and you see all the work and all the money that went into making those visuals work, it really pays off.
And let's talk about the meaning behind this film, because of course there's a physical aspect.
Yeah.
And this is classic Cronenberg, as you look, the guy with the many ears attached to him when he's dancing. Yes.
A lot of ears.
Is he a good listener, though?
Oh, yeah, well, we don't know.
And there's also a scene in the film when Kirsten Stewart's character, Timlin, who I think this is one of her greatest roles because you just see a different side of her, and she whispers in Saul Tenser's ear, "Surgery is the new sex." Explain, is that like orange is the new black? What is that?
I don't think that was his intention. I think that comes from the, the desensitized thing he's going for here. I mean, of course, there's the environmental allegory he's going for here, but then all of us, with our technology and how we're droned out, looking at screens all day, I think we've been so desensitized to all things. I think that's what he was really going for there.
Right, and it's interesting because in this film, the two main characters, Saul and Saul Tenser and Caprice, played by Vigo and Leah Seydoux, they're performance artists, and they're very famous because Saul can still feel pain, and everyone is trying to be a performance artist, kind of like how everyone's trying to be a social media influencer these days.
I think that was his take on that too. Yeah, the worst thing that's ever happened in the world, influencers.
Oh my gosh. Okay, at least we know your take on that,
I'm
Scott.
on Instagram, but I mean, with a gun to my head on Instagram, but that stuff is crazy. And it was there. It was that, even the Cannes Film Festival now is sponsored by TikTok and influencers, and you got influencers on the red carpet doing a Tom Cruise thing for Top Gun. It's just the merging of those two things is crazy with our business. But.
So this film really covers a whole array of topics.
Yeah, you can really find your own meaning with all of it. Yeah, environmental, technology, social media, whatever you want.
Yeah, okay, Scott, before we let you go, we have to know what is next for you. You've done a lot of TV and movies. What's your preference, and also what's your next project?
Well, I have another movie coming out with Lena Dunham that I'm excited about. That's a really kind of out there role. But in terms of preference, I love movies. I'll always enjoy sitting in a movie theater and watching, an hour and a half. And also, it lets you do other things. But of course, television is this great thing that having a family now has been great for me too. So my next thing I'm going to do, hopefully another television show and some more movies. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, Scott Speedman, congratulations on this film being such a success at Cannes. We look forward to seeing it in theaters June 3rd, Crimes of the Future. Scott Speedman here with us on CP24 Breakfast. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Harry Potter and the Cursed Child was set to open in Toronto May 2020, but then COVID hit, led to several postponements. 2 years later, the show will finally premiere tonight at the CAA Ed Murfish Theatre. And here with the Potter preview are castmates Haley Lewis and Gregory Press. They play father and daughter in the show. Hey, good morning, young thespians. How are you?
Great, thank you. Great.
Greg, let's start with you. This is the first Potter saga presented on stage. It begins 19 years after we last saw the wizard save the world. So, for those that aren't really familiar, what happened in between, and where does Cursed Child sort of pick up the narrative?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. So we pick up 19 years later. So we meet Ron and Hermione and, of course, Harry Potter again, and they have had children. And so this play centers around, the dynamic trio from the originals, but adds the children of the next generation and the adventures that they go on.
Awesome. Haley, this is your Mirvish debut, and you are a triple threat performer. You got solid bona fides, look her up. Where does Rose, your character, sort of fit into your, theatrical lexicon of your life and your career?
Yeah, Rose is such an honor to play, the next generation, to play a young kid that's just so excited about Hogwarts and everything to do with the Harry Potter world. It's truly an honor to be a part of this show and this cast, this company.
Now, Greg, you've had so many starring roles in with Soul Pepper and other companies, classics of stage, also that have been, films as well. Strong, solid foundation. People coming to these shows often will have sort of a preconceived idea of what they're going to see because they know the story so well. And here we are with a story that, the planet knows in terms of visual and text from the books and the movies. Is that an asset or a liability?
Oh, I think it's definitely an asset. That's the magical thing about bringing an audience in. You know, we've been working away for a few months, and of course the production team has been working for years on this show. And so the magic will be when the audience comes with their history and their passion and their expectations, and we come and we meet them, you know, where the stage meets the audience, and that's where it's fantastic.
You know, Haley, I always say in real life there are no fairy tale futures. There never was a once upon a time, and there never will be a happily ever after. But you know what? This isn't real life. This is theater, right? And thank God for theater. Thank God for theater, because it gives us this great release, right? It's a global release with a production like this. We know it's going to be very inspiring and emotional and cathartic for the audience. Is it a catharsis for you to be able to play a role like this?
Absolutely, absolutely, especially after the time that we've had off from theater. It is so lovely to be back, to have audience members, to hear, you know, stage management calls over the system, and just to feel that synergy. It's really, really nice to be back in the room with everybody. Greg,
last thing, this is a mega show, right? We've all heard the cred from the critics to the hardcore Harry fans around the world. You know, I mean, do you feel that gravity and that pressure as a performer, and is that a good thing in your line of work?
I think it's a great thing. Of course, there's a little bit of pressure because you want to honor the series. You want to honor, you know, the countless hours people have spent reading these books and watching these movies. So you want to honor that and give people a wonderful experience. And I think, you know, through rehearsals and through the team we have, I think we're hopefully doing that.
And what I really like is that it's being staged in this brand new theater. We're going to get a look. The media is at 11 o'clock today of the final theater revival and renewal. And you guys are going to be down at Yonge Dundas Square on opening night, but earlier today to just meet and greet fans, right?
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
Can't wait.
Awesome. We can't wait to be there as well. So, okay, both of you, break your legs. Not all of them, you know, not until at least you're done a couple of years run here. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child premieres tonight at the CAA at Mirvish Theatre. Go to mirvish.com for tickets and info. Thank you both. Have a great run, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks so much.
A 7-person civil jury in Virginia resumed deliberations today in Johnny Depp's libel trial against Amber Heard. The high-profile case has captivated the attention of millions of people. Depp is suing his ex-wife, Heard, for $50 million for allegedly defaming him in a 2018 Washington Post op-ed in which she referred to herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. Heard is countersuing for $100 million after Depp's team called her allegations a hoax. For more, let's bring in Dina Dahl, attorney and legal analyst who've been following this trial very closely. Thanks so much for being with us tonight, Dina.
Thank you for having me.
The jury has heard 6 weeks worth of bombshell testimony. I mean, a lot has been said. There are millions of dollars and reputations at stake here. What does the jury have to consider?
I mean, basically, the essential question is, were the statements true or false? There's, of course, other questions they have to answer. Was it about Johnny Depp, or were the statements about Amber Heard? Did they damage their reputation? Was there malice when the statements were made? They have to answer all those questions to all 6 statements here at issue. But the essential one really is truth. Was it true or not?
Was it true or not? That's really the big question. You know, this has been really ugly the last couple of weeks. Both sides claim to be victims of abuse. Both are suing each other. Depp's attorneys arguing Heard ruined his life. We heard that. And Heard's team called Depp a monster. As a juror, how do you even get past the he said, she said?
Well, exactly. And it is obviously always important to know what each party is saying. But I think in a case like this, it's going to be those third-party witnesses, the different people that testified for them. And in that respect, I think Amber Heard was hurt by some of the witnesses that came up at the very end, actually, like a TMZ employee and somebody from a Palace employee. A few other people who weren't employees, weren't friends, did come in and kind of rebut some of her testimony.
Yeah, that testimony will be crucial, no doubt. Now, Dina, in the court of public opinion, though, Heard seems to have lost. You know, she's been trolled on the internet. She says she's been harassed and humiliated. That doesn't mean anything in the eyes of the law, but what does it mean for her career?
I imagine this is going to be very damaging for her career. I mean, it is true that a lot of the people who've supported Johnny Depp, I mean, I've interacted with a lot of them because I've been on social media, answering questions, et cetera. And a lot of them have actually been following this since the very beginning with the TRO, since the UK. They saw a lot of evidence that actually didn't even come into this trial, and so have formed their opinion kind of before this. And I think that's where a lot of his support comes from. Obviously, a lot are fans, but a lot really just believe in his innocence and have come out quite loudly on social media saying that.
Right. So as a legal analyst, where do you see this going, and how long could the jury take to deliberate?
Well, we received a question from the jury today, and it was about the very first statement. As I said, there's 6 statements that they have to go through. It was about the very first one, and it was kind of asking about the falsity of it, whether or not it was in context of the article or not. That tells me that they're at the very beginning here. So it might be some time. And also that they're being very careful and very thorough, which also can mean that it might be quite some time. As you said, they have 6 weeks, quite a lot of evidence here. So I imagine this might still go a day or so.
Okay, good to know. Toxic, ugly, messy, just a few ways people are describing not only their relationship, but this case, this trial. Should this have gone to court, Dina?
You know, I think that everybody has a right to have a chance to clean up their name. You know, if Johnny Depp really did have somebody lie about them, then he certainly should be able to use the justice system to do it. I mean, that's what the justice system is for. And if it turns out that the jury doesn't decide in his favor, I think that's further vindication of Amber Heard. So I actually think this is a completely appropriate place to kind of resolve this kind of issue. Is in a court of law where there are rules of what evidence applies and what arguments lawyers can make, and probably better than different gossip magazines saying different things.
Yeah, as we await this verdict, I wonder if you can refresh people's memories. 6 weeks of testimony. What stood out to you? What were the highlights?
You know, for me, I probably would have been a good juror on this case, actually, because although I follow a lot of trials, I was not really familiar at all with the facts of this case. And I was surprised about how many people were already coming out for Amber Heard. What turned me was her cross-examination. And Camille Vasquez kind of became a star overnight because of how well she cross-examined Amber Heard. And it really became apparent to me that Amber Heard had to be really exaggerating about a lot of her claims. If not everything, that I cannot tell. But when they put her testimony about the really severe beatings that she alleged compared to photographic evidence, it just didn't match up. And for me, that was the turning point, was that cross-examination.
Okay, well, leave it there. Dina Dahl, criminal legal analyst and attorney, thank you so much for your analysis.
Thank you for having me.
Taste of the Danforth, we know, is possibly in jeopardy. And so for more on what this means to restaurants and businesses, we're joined by Erin Gamelin. She's the owner of Louis Cypher on the Danforth. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
We know that the Danforth, a Greek town, is super popular all year round. But can you explain to us why the Taste of the Danforth is so important to restaurants in Greektown?
Well, the Taste of the Danforth, especially for those restaurants that have not been able to participate in the Cafe TO program, which has been phenomenal for those of us who could, it marks the largest income revenue stream for businesses and restaurants for the entire year. So Taste is a big, important weekend for all the restaurants and businesses on the Danforth.
And Erin, what will it mean to your business if this year's festival doesn't go ahead?
Well, let me correct the record. This year's festival will go ahead. They are working very closely with the city, and I know Paula Fletcher is, quote unquote, going to move heaven and earth to make it happen. There's some logistical changes with the bike lanes and Cafe TO, which we're all happy to have. That has, thrown a little bit of a wrench into the organization of the event, but the event is not off. I know that everybody's working very hard with the city and the BIA, communicating to make sure that we can still have this weekend happen. So I know the rumors are flying out there that it's not going to happen. It might not happen, but they are confident that they will make it happen. It might look a little bit different. To do Taste of Danforth, it's a $500,000 endeavor. And we need sponsors for that. And in order for us to have sponsors, we need road space. And we're working with the city, or the BIA is working with the city to make sure that we can make it as seamless as possible. So I know there's a lot of fear that it's not going to happen, but I feel very confident that it will still happen. It'll just look a little bit different than it has in prior years.
Listen, I know how important the Taste of the Danforth event is for that area, but it does seem like things are up in the air because there's still a lot of things that have to be dealt with, especially when we spoke to the City of Toronto yesterday. So talk to us a bit about the challenges in terms of getting sponsorship. We know the bike lanes are taking up a lot of space, and then you've got those concrete fixtures in place. And so logistically, this is really challenging.
Well, the challenge is we need to move those borders, the cement blocks, the flower beds out of the way in order for us to have 2 lanes of emergency traffic down the middle of the lane. And right now the city is unwilling to move those, even if it's just to the curbside. And so I know the BIA is talking about getting an event planner to help us figure out the logistics of having sponsors in other areas, because in prior years it was kind of a zigzag along the street for emergency vehicles. The city isn't allowing that right now, and the transportation is also presenting a challenge on what they need, as well as our local councillor of what she's willing to do and not do. So there's a lot of talks right now of how to make this work, so that we are able to have all the sponsors participate, because that's what pays for this event. And without the sponsors, to get out 1.5 million people to come out to an event, we need everybody involved, and we need the sponsors to come to the table. And if we can't have all of them, then this is going to be a very costly endeavor for the BIA. And the whole point of Taste of the Danforth is to help support all of these businesses that have been suffering for the last 2 years or don't have participation in in the Cafe TO program. So on behalf of the entire Greek town, we want everybody involved, and we want to make this happen for everybody. I'm not on the board myself, but I can certainly speak on behalf of all of the restaurants and businesses in our neighborhood that we definitely want Taste of the Danforth to still happen. I feel confident that they will still make it happen, and work with our councillor and transportation to put this on. So I think the rumors are flying pretty high about Taste of the Danforth not happening, but I feel confident that it will happen. It'll just look a little bit different.
All right. Well, Erin, I love your optimism. We are all confident and praying that it will happen. And in similar fashion to the Taste of Danforth, we remember before the pandemic, it, of course, has been so hard for many businesses there. Erin Gamlin, owner of Louis Cypher on the Danforth, appreciate your time this morning.
I have been optimistic for 2 years, so I will continue to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, the Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee celebrations continue today.
That's right. CTV's Paul Workman joins us now live from London with the latest on the Jubilee events. Good morning to you, Paul. Thanks for joining us here. So some more royal sightings from members of the public today. What have they been up to?
Well, I must say, first of all, I like church bells, but this has been going on at St. Paul's for at least a half an hour, if not 3/4 of an hour now. I'm not sure how loudly you can hear it, but it's very loud in this ear. Anyway, this service of Thanksgiving this morning that unfortunately the Queen was not able to attend. She seemed to have gotten tired out yesterday, looked very radiant I thought, on the balcony at Buckingham Palace, but then the palace announced last night that she was feeling some discomfort and then canceled coming here today. And I think for the Queen, this probably would have been as important as her public appearance yesterday. She is a woman of deep faith. This service of Thanksgiving was about the royal family saying thank you to all of the people who had worked so hard on their behalf during the pandemic here over the last couple of years. The church today was full of politicians, former prime ministers, Governor General of Canada, the High Commissioner of Canada, and many others. And unfortunately, the Queen just was not able to make it. We're told that she was able to watch it, or did watch it, at Windsor Castle, where she's now resting. Prince Charles essentially led the royal family here this morning.
Yeah, and Paul, I can confirm that those church bells are very loud. But aside from that, what exactly do we know about how Prince Harry and his wife Meghan have been navigating or taking part in events, being with the family, but without official royal status?
Well, we don't know the inside story of what's going on in the family, but we do know that they've been very discreet since they got here, obviously not wanting to take the limelight away from the Queen. It is her celebration. It is not about Harry and Meghan. They've come to introduce their children again to the Queen. They did appear this morning at St. Paul's. They came for the service. This was their first official appearance, really, along with other members of the royal family. So, you know, everybody was here today. Most everybody. Prince Andrew was not. He apparently has COVID, so could not make it. Harry came, which is really quite a big deal. And the missing person in all of this was Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly missed indeed, Paul. I've got to wonder, though, what about the public? Did the public come out? Is there still a great deal of engagement to sort of get near the royals and get a glimpse and see what's happening?
Well, nothing like yesterday, of course, on the Mall and at Buckingham Palace. But yeah, there were a lot of people outside the church here today wanting to get photographs, wanting to see the personalities coming in this morning. It was an easier space to get to, so the crowds were smaller but just as enthusiastic. A lot of maybe 4 to 5 deep in the row in front of St. Paul's Cathedral here. Look, this, you know, the country is sort of coming together. It's been shut down by the pandemic for a couple of years. This is the first big public event, and what an extraordinary public event for the people of Britain to take part in. The Queen's Platinum Jubilee, 70 years on the throne. You know, we're seeing concerts. There's going to be a big concert tomorrow night, a big pageant down the street near Buckingham Palace tomorrow, and on Sunday, all across this country, thousands, tens of thousands of people are going to get together and have big Jubilee lunches in their lawns and in the center of their cities. And it really is sort of going to be the most fun day of all of this, but it is an extraordinary tribute to their monarch.
And I'm sure those bells will keep ringing throughout the next several days. CTV's Chief International Correspondent Paul Workman, live in London. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.